The last male sample. The room was cold, quiet, and filled with glowing machines. Inside a tall glass pod, a human male floated in blue liquid. His body was still. His eyes were closed. For years he had been sleeping, forgotten in the corner of an alien laboratory. A group of alien scientists stood around the pod whispering. They were tall and slim with glowing silver skin and soft blue eyes. They wore long robes and held tablets in their hands. "This is the last one," said Dr. Varel, the head of the fertility research unit. "The final male from Earth. We found his cryopod hidden in an old human ship." "Is he even alive?" asked another scientist. Varel nodded slowly. "Yes, his body is stable, his DNA is perfect. If the readings are correct, he may be our last hope." Across the galaxy, the alien race known as the Valari faced a terrible crisis. Their females could no longer have children. Their population was dying. For decades they tried everything: cloning, genetic mixing, artificial wombs. Nothing worked. But then, one ancient text spoke of an answer: humans. Long ago, Valari women who touched human males showed signs of life, fertility returning. Most believed it was a myth. But now, they had a real human. One final chance. The pod began to make soft sounds, beeps, clicks. Lights blinked faster. "He's waking up," whispered Varel. The blue liquid drained slowly. The man inside, still unconscious, dropped gently onto a soft metal bed. Machines cleaned and dried him automatically. A breathing mask was placed over his mouth. The alien stared, frozen. This human looked so simple, so fragile. Yet their scanners showed his genes were powerful. His immune system was strong, and his body matched perfectly with Valari biology. Doctor opened behind them. A young alien girl stepped inside. She was Princess Sira, the Queen's daughter. Beautiful even by alien standards. Her long white hair shimmered like starlight. Her eyes were glowing purple, full of curiosity. "I wanted to see the human," she said softly. "Is he dangerous?" "No," said Varel. "He doesn't know where he is. He's been sleeping for over 20 years. His memory may be damaged." Sira walked closer. She looked at the human's face. He was still breathing slowly, his chest rising and falling. His skin was warm and brown, and he looked peaceful, like someone having a dream. She reached out and gently touched the glass. Beep! The bracelet on her wrist blinked. It was her fertility scanner, a device worn by all Valari females. For years hers had shown nothing. Empty. Barren. But now, green light flashed. The scanner beeped again, louder. All the scientists turned. Their jaws dropped. "Impossible," said one. "That device has never activated before." Varel rushed forward, eyes wide. He scanned Sira's body. Her womb, once inactive, was now showing signs of hormonal life. Ovary activity detected. Egg cell regeneration started. Sira stepped back, confused. "What does it mean?" "It means," Varel whispered, "you're fertile for the first time. Because of him." The Queen was alerted immediately, within an hour. A royal guard stood around the medical room. Princess Sira sat beside the human who was now slowly waking up. His name was Ethan. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking at the bright lights. His voice was dry and weak. "Where am I?" he asked. "You are safe," Sira said gently. "You're in the capital of Valari Prime." Ethan stared at her. "Are you human?" She smiled kindly. "No, I'm Valari. But you are very special to us." He sat up, confused and weak. His head was spinning. "What do you want from me?" Varel stepped forward. "We need your help. Our species cannot have children anymore. Our future is dying. But when the princess touched your pod, her fertility returned. You may be the key." Ethan looked around the room. Alien faces stared back. tall, glowing, graceful. "This must be a dream," he muttered. "It's real," said Sira. "And we need you." Outside the lab, news began to spread. A human has awakened. The royal scanner turned green. The human is the only fertile match. Some Valari rejoiced, others doubted. But in every home, every female who had lost hope began to whisper his name. The last male sample might just become the first savior. The breeding program begins. The sky above Valari Prime burned with 2 suns. From the highest tower of the palace, the queen stood still, looking down at the city below. Her face, usually calm and cold, was filled with quiet hope, for the first time in years. Inside the royal medical chamber, Ethan sat on the edge of a soft silver bed, trying to understand where he was. The clothes they gave him were strange, smooth like silk but with tiny blinking lights on the cuffs. He stared at his own reflection in the shiny wall. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like anyone special. He just felt lost. Soft knock echoed at the chamber door. It slid open and Princess Sira entered, this time dressed in ceremonial robes of deep violet, glowing softly around her. "You look different," Ethan said, forcing a small smile. "You look nervous," she replied with a hint of laughter in her voice. He chuckled. "Well, I just woke up from a 2-decade nap, found out I'm not on Earth anymore, and now aliens want my DNA to fix their species. I think nervous is fair." She walked closer and sat beside him. "You're not being forced, Ethan. You have a choice." He looked at her. "Do I really?" Before she could answer, the door opened again. This time, it was High Priestess Velma, head of the Royal Fertility Council. Her presence was heavy. Her long white dress dragged softly behind her, and her eyes held power. "Human," she said calmly. "You may not know it, but your body is the only one in this galaxy that can restore life to our kind. We have tested thousands of males across hundreds of species. None worked. Until you." Ethan stood slowly. "And what if I say no?" Velma raised a brow. "Then our bloodline dies." Sira turned to him. "We're not asking you to be a machine, Ethan, just to help us survive." Later that day, Ethan was taken through the Hall of Trials, a massive chamber filled with genetic archives, statues of past Valari queens, and glowing fertility crystals. His footsteps echoed across the floor. Each room showed him more of what had been lost. Babies that never lived. Women who aged without hope. A civilization silently dying. In the final room, he saw something that stopped him in his tracks. A huge, transparent, egg-shaped container holding holograms of the last 20. Fertile females, all glowing faintly. Their bodies were ready to carry life, but they had no match. A soft robotic voice explained, "Fertility status, active, compatible donor, human DNA only." Ethan swallowed hard. These weren't test subjects. These were people, real women, with real pain, real dreams, and no future, unless he helped. That night, he couldn't sleep. His mind was a storm of questions. Was this right? Would he just be used? Or was this a chance to actually do something good in the galaxy? Suddenly, the door opened. A quiet figure stepped in. It was Sira. "I shouldn't be here," she said, "but I wanted to show you something." She handed him a tiny, glowing sphere. Inside it was a moving image, a baby, an alien infant giggling and glowing. "That's beautiful," Ethan said. "That was me," Sira whispered. "One of the last natural-born Valari." She looked into his eyes. "We don't want to use you, we want to work with you as partners, as family." The next morning, Ethan made his decision. He stood before the High Council, tall and serious. "I won't be your experiment," he said, "but I'll help on one condition." The Queen leaned forward. "Speak. I want their names, their stories. I want to know the women I help. I won't just be a donor. I'll be their friend, their protector. There was silence. Then, slowly, the queen nodded. Then you shall not be a breeding tool. You shall be named a Valari guardian. You will choose who you help, and you will be treated with honor. By evening, his chambers were moved near the royal family. Guards were placed at his door. The galaxy's last fertile human was no longer just a sample. He was now their only hope and their most important guest. Her body responded instantly. The palace alarms screamed like wild birds echoing through crystal halls. Red lights blinked across the ceiling. Guards ran with urgency. Medics rushed past. Ethan stood frozen at the doorway of his chamber. His heart raced as two royal guards grabbed him. Come now, it's happening. One of them is rejecting life energy. She's failing, one shouted. What do you mean? Ethan asked, panic in his voice. You were matched to her 2 hours ago, said the second. Her name is Lyra. She was stable, but now her body is shutting down. She only has minutes left unless you touch her. Inside the emergency medical room, Lyra lay motionless on a floating bed. Her skin was pale blue, but now it looked gray, fading. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes half open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Princess Sira and the Queen stood nearby, faces tense. The doctors around her worked quickly, placing scanners and stim pads over her heart. She's rejecting the last serum, said one nurse. Her life sign is dropping below viable levels. Prepare to release the human, ordered the Queen. Ethan stepped forward slowly, eyes wide as he saw the girl. She was young, maybe early 20s in Earth. Years. Her body was small and fragile, with long white hair flowing over the edge of the bed. Her chest rose and fell weakly, and small veins glowed faintly under her skin. Ethan whispered, "What do I do?" Sira placed her hand on his shoulder. "Just take her hand. That's all. Our scientists believe your presence, your life force, can wake her cells." He walked forward, unsure, afraid. What if this didn't work? He knelt beside the bed and gently reached out, his fingers shaking. The moment his skin touched hers, flash. A bright golden light exploded from her chest. Everyone stepped back, shielding their eyes. Machines beeped wildly. The fertility monitor on her wrist turned bright green and began glowing brighter than any they had seen. "Her womb is activating," shouted one nurse. "Neural signals rising," cried another. "Oxygen intake restored." Lyra gasped, deeply, like someone returning from drowning. Her back arched slightly as her entire body pulsed with warm energy. Then, she opened her eyes. Slowly, she turned her head and looked at the human kneeling beside her. Her lips trembled. "Are you real?" Ethan smiled softly, eyes full of wonder. "I guess I am." Later that night, Ethan sat quietly in the garden, watching the alien stars blink in strange colors across the sky. His hands were still glowing faintly, and he could feel a soft warmth in his chest, like something inside him had changed. Princess Sira sat beside him. "She was the weakest among the 20, she said. We didn't expect her to last the week. She nearly died," Ethan whispered. "But she didn't," Sira said, smiling gently. "Because of you." He looked down at his hands. "I'm not a doctor. I'm not magic. I don't understand why this is happening." "It's not about understanding," Sira replied. "It's about connection. You didn't just give her life, you gave her hope." The next day, Lyra was moved to the royal healing chamber. She asked for Ethan. He entered quietly, and she turned her head, giving him the smallest smile. "You saved me," she said softly. "I just held your hand," he replied. She reached out again. This time it wasn't to be saved, but to hold his hand willingly. "Others like me are waiting," she said. "Scared, alone. You gave me something we all thought was gone forever." Ethan sat down beside her and held her hand again. No glowing this time, just warmth. Just understanding, but outside the palace the news was spreading too fast. The human awakened the dead womb. Alien girls are reviving. One man, hundreds of hopefuls. Crowds gathered outside the palace gates, chanting, begging, for their daughters, sisters, and wives to meet the human. But not everyone celebrated. In a secret chamber, a council of Valari nobles sat in silence. Their leader, General Tyrex, spoke with a low growl. "This human will bring chaos. If every girl bonds with him, our pure line will be lost. He must be controlled or removed." Another noble added, "He is just a man. He bleeds like the rest. If something were to happen to him..." General Tyrex nodded darkly. "I'll handle it." The Assassin's Strike. The sun had just begun to rise over the silver domes of Valari Prime, casting long shadows across the royal garden. Birds with glowing feathers floated gently between crystal trees, and the air smelled like warm mist and starlight. Ethan walked slowly down a stone path surrounded by flowers that shimmered in soft violet light. Beside him was Nera, one of the newly approved fertile females. She walked quietly, her hands folded nervously in front of her. "You don't have to be afraid," Ethan said, giving her a kind smile. "I'm just me." Nera looked at him, shyly. "You're more than that to us now. You give us life. That makes you sacred," Ethan chuckled. "I'm not sacred. I'm just a guy who woke up in the middle of a sci-fi movie." She didn't understand the reference, but she laughed anyway. They stopped near a peaceful fountain. Ethan sat on the edge, enjoying the calm moment. For the first time since he arrived on this alien world, he felt relaxed. But someone was watching him. High above, on one of the tallest palace towers, a masked figure lay flat on a glass roof. He wore black armor and moved without sound. In his hands was a long plasma rifle, built for one shot, one kill. The red scope on the rifle moved gently as the assassin aimed at Ethan's chest. "He is exposed," the assassin whispered into his comms. "Permission to fire?" A cold voice responded, "Permission granted. End the human." The assassin adjusted his aim and placed his finger on the trigger. At that very moment, down in the garden, Nera looked up. She blinked. "What is that light?" she asked. Ethan followed her gaze, his eyes narrowed, and then widened. He saw it. A red dot, moving across his chest. Instinct took over. He dove toward Nera, pulling her to the ground just as the plasma bolt fired. Boom! The energy blast slammed into the stone wall behind them, exploding with a bright flash. Shards flew through the air. Birds scattered, screaming. Alarms blared instantly across the palace grounds. "Get down!" shouted a guard from afar. Ethan rolled with Nera behind the fountain. His heart pounded in his ears. "Are you hurt?" he asked quickly. "No," she said, shaking. "But your arm." Blood ran down Ethan's left sleeve. A piece of the blast had burned him. "I'm fine," he muttered through clenched teeth. "Stay down." The assassin cursed and quickly adjusted for a second shot. But this time, a guard patrol drone spotted him. Red lights flashed. The assassin fired one more shot, missed, and then rolled off the roof. He disappeared into the wind like a ghost. Back in the palace, the queen slammed her hand on the table. "This is treason." Someone inside the council gave that order. General Tyrex stepped forward calmly. "We have enemies outside, my queen. Let us not assume betrayal within." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Don't play politics, Tyrex. I know you opposed the human from the beginning." Tyrex bowed, hiding his smirk. "I only wish to protect our bloodlines, your majesty." Ethan sat quietly in the healing chamber, his arm wrapped in glowing shell. Princess Sira sat across from him, her expression full of worry. "You could have died today," she whispered. "I didn't," Ethan replied. "But someone wanted me to." "There are those who fear change," she said, "who believe our race should die rather than mix with yours." "Then they're idiots," Ethan snapped, "because dying with pride is still dying." Sira smiled slightly. "You sound like a leader." "I'm not a leader," he said softly. I just don't want to be killed for trying to help. She leaned forward and placed a hand over his. You saved Nara. You faced death. And you're still here. That means something, Ethan. Outside the chamber, whispers grew stronger. The human was attacked. He risked his life to protect one of us. He's not just a donor, he's a warrior. The alien girls who once feared him now looked at him with something new in their eyes. Respect. That night, in the quiet shadows of the city, the failed assassin returned to his master. General Tyrex stood in the dark, arms behind his back. I told you not to miss. He moved faster than expected. Tyrex stared at him coldly. The next time you fail, I won't need to punish you. The human will. The breeder's dilemma. The sun had not yet risen, but Ethan was already wide awake. His arm still hurt from the plasma burn, but that wasn't what kept him up. He couldn't stop thinking about everything. The attack, the girls, the glowing scanner. On Lyra's wrist, the words of Princess Sira. And now this last night, the Queen had summoned him privately. Her words still echoed in his mind. You're not just our hope now, Ethan. You are their protector. You will stay among the girls. Watch over them. Live with them. If anyone dares strike again, they'll face you first. He hadn't answered. Immediately. It was a strange idea. But then he remembered how Nara had looked up at him with fear, how she would have died without his quick reaction. So, he agreed. But he didn't know they'd assign him a roommate. The room was large. Partly royal quarters, partly medical chamber. It had soft silver walls that responded to touch, a glowing bed, a round bathing pool, and a ceiling that displayed the stars. As he stepped inside, he noticed fresh clothes folded neatly. The scent of fruit lingered in the air. Then a voice spoke. Behind him, "You're early." He turned. Standing by the window was Lyra, the first girl he had saved. She wore a long, soft robe that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair was still white and flowing, and her violet eyes locked onto his. "Wait. You're my new roommate?" Ethan asked. "I asked for it," she said plainly. He blinked. "Why?" Lyra stepped closer. "Because I trust you. And because some don't." They sat across from each other that evening, a soft meal between them. Ethan poked at a glowing fruit. "I've never shared a room with a girl before. Especially not one from another planet." Lyra smirked. "I've never shared a room with a human who made my body come alive." Ethan almost choked on the fruit. She giggled softly. "Relax. I'm not going to jump on you." "Good," he replied, still red in the face. "Because I don't even know what that means here." Her smile faded. She looked down. "They want me to bond with you officially now." The Queen said, "I'm first in line." "Bond?" Ethan asked. "In our world," she explained, "if a male activates a female's womb and saves her life, it creates a link, an emotional imprint. If I sleep beside you, if I keep my hand in yours, my body grows stronger." Ethan leaned back slowly. "This is a lot." "I know," she whispered. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lyra looked up. "You think I'm just here because of the Queen, don't you?" "I don't know what to think," he replied. "Well," she said softly, "I'm here because I wanted to be." Later that night, Ethan lay on one side of the bed staring at the stars projected on the ceiling. Lyra lay on the other side, silent. Then she spoke. "You know what hurts the most about infertility?" He turned his head toward her. "What?" "It's not the pain in the body. It's the silence. No songs, no lullabies, no children laughing. Our cities became too quiet." Ethan felt a deep ache in his chest. "And now?" he asked. She rolled onto her side to face him. Now, the music might return. Suddenly, a sharp beeping sound broke the peace. Beep, beep, beep. Lyra sat up. "That's the scanner." She held up her wrist. Her fertility scanner was glowing gold now, not green. Ethan sat up too. "What does that mean?" She looked at him with wide eyes. It means my body just entered full activation. I can conceive now. At that moment, a royal guard knocked urgently at the door. Ethan of Earth, the voice called. The Queen requests your presence. Immediately. Ethan rushed to change clothes. As he stepped toward the door, Lyra grabbed his arm. I need to tell you something. Before you go, she said quickly. There's something I've kept hidden. About why my scanner responded to you first, he paused. What is it? She opened her mouth to speak, but the guard knocked again, louder this time. Ethan, it's urgent. He turned back to, Tell me after. And he left. A kingdom divided. The throne room was darker than usual. No music played. No banners waved. The air was heavy, too quiet, too still. Ethan stepped in, led by two royal guards. Their faces were blank, their boots echoing on the crystal floor. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Where was the Queen? Where was Princess Sira? He looked around, confused. Then, from the shadows, several figures stepped out, cloaked in black, their armor marked with the symbol of the old Blood Council. At the front stood General Tyrex. Welcome, human, he said coldly, arms behind his back. The Queen is occupied. Tonight you meet us instead. Ethan's eyes narrowed. This isn't a royal request, is it? Tyrex smiled without warmth. No. This is a warning. The chamber lights dimmed further, until only a spotlight lit Ethan. Around him, dozens of council members appeared in the viewing balconies above, noblemen and noblewomen of Valari's oldest houses. Each had one thing in common. They despised what Ethan represented. Our people are proud, said Tyrex, his voice louder now, echoing across the chamber. For generations we stood strong. We conquered stars. We ruled bloodlines. He pointed directly at Ethan. And now, our future lies in the hands of an outsider? A primitive species? A human? Ethan stepped forward. You mean your future was already dying? I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask for this role. But you took it, Tyrex hissed. You accepted our Queen's blessing. You dare sleep beside our sacred daughters. I saved Lyra, Ethan snapped. I saved Nera. I didn't force anyone. I offered help when your own science gave up. A low murmur echoed through the crowd. Some agreed. Others grumbled. Tyrex slammed his hand on the floor. Enough. Let me remind you what happens when Valari blood is mixed with off-world DNA. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber. It showed past genetic failures, broken hybrids, twisted bodies, failed hopes. Gasps filled the air. Ethan stepped closer to the image. Those were mistakes, unwilling, untested, and unkind. He turned to the nobles. But I've done nothing without consent. I treat your people with respect, and your daughters are not things. They are more human than some of you right now. Silence. Then someone clapped. All heads turned toward the tall entrance doors. Princess Sira walked in, head high, robes flowing behind her like liquid moonlight. She walked straight to Ethan and stood beside him. He speaks truth, she said calmly, and if you shame him for it, you shame me. Tyrex's face twisted. You break protocol. I follow life, Sira replied, not fear. Suddenly another door burst open. A group of young Valari girls, those chosen for the fertility program, entered behind the princess. Lyra was among them, her golden scanner glowing bright. She stepped in front of everyone. If he hadn't touched me, I'd be dead. She held up her arm. But now I can bear life. Our race can continue. Then, another girl stepped forward. He taught me laughter. Another. He made me feel seen. Then dozens of voices. He protected me. He listened. He gave me back my future. Ethan stood still, overwhelmed. This wasn't just about science anymore. It wasn't about genetics. It was about choice, about hope, and connection. Tyrex's face turned red with rage. He pulled a short plasma blade from his side. This circus ends now. He rushed toward Ethan. But before Ethan could even react, Lyra leapt between them. No! Tyrex froze, blade inches from her chest. Her scanner blinked rapidly. Everyone gasped. The golden glow on her wrist spread across her skin, pulsing. Her body shimmered with energy. Her voice grew stronger. Touch him again, she said, and you'll strike the future of Valari itself. Behind her, the other girls activated their scanners, glowing in unison like stars across the room. Tyrex lowered his blade. He had lost. Later that night, the Queen finally returned to the royal chamber. She met with Ethan privately. You changed something today, she said. You didn't just survive, you united them. Ethan looked tired. I didn't mean to cause division. You didn't, the Queen replied. You revealed the truth. And the truth is, tradition without love means nothing. Father of a new race deep in space, far from Valari Prime, a black warship hovered like a ghost above a dying moon. Its hull was made of scavenged bones and steel. Its engines whispered, not roared. The ship belonged to the Dravak Horde, a nomad, race that sold flesh, blood, and life to the highest bidder. Inside the war chamber, holograms floated mid-air, pulsing with news. The human has activated Valari fertility. The alien females are now conceiving. He is the sole compatible breeder. A growl rumbled across the room. The Dravak warlord, twice the size of a human and armored in black hide, stood from his throne of skulls. Prepare the raiders, he ordered. That human will not stay Valari property for long. He belongs to the galaxy now. Back on Valari Prime, peace seemed to have returned. Ethan stood on a raised platform in the palace's central garden. Around him stood 20 Valari girls, all dressed in ceremonial robes. Each one wore a glowing fertility band, and every single one of them was now fertile. The Queen addressed the citizens. We stand today at the edge of extinction and the dawn of rebirth, she said. And at the center of that hope is Ethan of Earth. The crowd cheered. Ethan's face turned red. I'm not a hero, he said softly to Sira, who stood beside him. I was just in the right place. She smiled. Sometimes that's what heroes are. Later that evening, Ethan walked alone through the moonlit garden. Stars shimmered overhead and strange flowers bloomed softly under his feet. He heard footsteps behind him. It was Lyra. She walked up and gently took his hand. No scanners, no science, just touch. You've changed us, she whispered. I think, you changed me too, he replied. She leaned against his shoulder and together they looked at the stars. But then, the sky exploded, a burning comet shot overhead, then another. Sirens screamed across the palace. Ethan's eyes widened. That's not a comet, he said. It's a ship. Multiple ships. Dozens of drop pods slammed into the outer palace wall. Each opened with a hiss, revealing armored Dravak warriors with jagged weapons and glowing red eyes. One of them shouted in broken, Valari, bring us the human, alive. Guards rushed into action, alarms echoed. Fighters scrambled. Ethan ran toward the royal hall but was cut off by 2 Dravak brutes. He grabbed a fallen staff and spun it like he was back in Earth's martial arts class. One swung at him. He dodged, cracked the brute across the jaw, then kicked him into a wall. The second lunged, but Lyra tackled him from the side, jabbing her own scanner into the beast's eye. The brute screamed and collapsed. They stood back to back, panting. You fight pretty well, Ethan said. You bleed pretty loud, she smirked. In the control room, the Queen barked orders. Do not let them take him. If they get his blood, they will enslave every female species in the outer systems. Sira grabbed a plasma blade. I'm going to him. Take the Valari guard, the Queen commanded, and bring him back safely, or not at all. In the garden, Ethan was surrounded. Dravak soldiers closed in. He was wounded, his arm bleeding. Again, his leg scraped raw. They pointed weapons at him. You are property now, growled their captain. You will breed for us. Ethan spat at the ground. Over my dead Suddenly, a blast of violet light slammed into the captain. Syrah and the royal guard charged into the clearing, weapons glowing. Alien girls, Lyra, Nera, and the others, joined the fight, their scanners overloading with energy and firing bolts of biolight. Together they formed a wall around Ethan. One by one, the Dravak were driven back. And in the center of it all, Ethan stood tall. When the last raider fell, silence returned. Ethan was bleeding, bruised, but smiling. "You okay?" Syrah asked. He nodded. "Yeah, but next time I get a day off first." The girls laughed. Days later, the galaxy changed. The Queen officially named Ethan father of the new race. No longer just a human, no longer just a helper. Now, a symbol, a protector, a family member. Children began to grow. The alien girls glowed with new life. And in every corner of Valari Prime, hope was reborn. One evening, as he walked quietly with Lyra and Syrah, Ethan asked, "Do you ever wonder why me?" Lyra leaned against him. "Because your heart chose to stay." Syrah added, "And now you're ours."